All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. I appreciate you guys very much. Today's episode is presented by Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, Lackawanna, just minutes away from Highmark Stadium, a stadium that was rocking on Sunday. If you happen to be watching this on the video side, we are live here late on a Sunday night. And as usual for these post-game shows, I am joined by my buddy. Been a hell of a week, man. A long week. Joe from Queens is with me, man. What's going on, dude? How you doing?
Need a beer. Yeah. I was traveled back from Buffalo. I'm sure you were very sad, to our listeners, viewers, and all those people out there, that we did not link up at one of your fine establishments. Unfortunately, when I go back home, I'm there for like 4.5 days, and I have to family obligations. The coolness scale is you're like the second, third tier. And unfortunately, if we were staying for like 6 days, we would have hung out. But because you didn't want to go to the North Towns, because you and I may as well live in the Canada and Mexico at this point, with West Seneca and Pendleton. Yeah, I don't even it's one of those things when I tell people when I come home, oh, by the way, I'm having one of your favorites, I'm sure, a leaf pile, which is a pumpkin pie. Everyone that can see on the video. I know you just despise it. I know. It is what it is. But I feel bad telling people oh yeah, I'm in Pendleton. You got to come and see my mom and over here, and it's just kind of,
it's really north. It's very north. It's kind of like Pendleton to the north. It's almost like, say, being like in Boston or something in the south, where everything, you got to go north for everything. It's the holidays. It's hard to get together as it is. You got the family with you, and you couple all that. What's up?
You're gonna hate my guts for this, but my wife wants to show you what she got me. So
why would I hate your guts
for the video sides? Oh, I told her she has to come here. I told her. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna pull you up on the full screen. On the video side, you're gonna see.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So go ahead. Okay. So she got me a suit jacket, Jesse Palmer line with the Bills things in the middle, everyone could see it right there. So she got me this.
That's dope, dude.
It's pretty dope, and it's we saw it. I think I sent it to her months ago because I was look at Jesse Palmer, because we watched The Bachelor, and this dork has his own clothing line, but it's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited. It's coming to a wedding near you, but actually, when we go to Cancun in a couple weeks, I'll be wearing it when we're going out on the town.
That's dope, man. Time. I like that. I'll take a picture of it. I'll put it up.
Yeah, it's pretty hot
in the show notes. But yeah, anyway.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. We love you. You ruined Christmas almost, Pat, because you had to do this at 9 instead of 10, like I told you to. But it's all good. Don't worry, dog.
I apologize for that. Yeah, everything's there's been a lot of miscommunications. Like on the video side, if you're watching this right now, you're probably wondering where the hell were we? We were 10, 15 minutes late. Joe and I definitely had a miscommunication, which is I looked at our messages and it was my fault. As I looked,
it was your fault. It was your fault.
I said 10 and then I said 9 and then I went back and forth 2 or 3 times. So my bad.
Yeah, we were about to kiss on the mistletoe, and then I get this ding ding ding. I look at my thing. It's a StreamYard app. I'm like, oh no, this guy is not trying to do this now. And Pat was like, I already made the graphics. You know, or never. And I'm like.
Well, I put everything out there, man. I put everything out there. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. It's this was the Bills' home finale. Of course, the Buffalo Bills. Look, man, they won 40-14 today. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, it was 33-0 at the end of the third quarter before the backups came in. Bottom line, Bills are 13-3. The 2 seed is locked. This was their first undefeated home season since all the way back in 1990. They're the 2 seed, I believe, now for the 4th time in the last 5 years. It was I don't say it was a competitive game. The score looked competitive. I don't think this game was really competitive much at all, but 21-0 third quarter just blew this game open. And it was kind of a record-setting day for Buffalo as well. They set a team record with 63 touchdowns this season, 509 points, most ever. And they also tied not just the Bills, but an NFL record, Joe, 13 with Tyrell Shavers' touchdown in the 4th quarter. 13 different guys have now caught a touchdown pass for the Bills this year. everybody eats wasn't just like this catchphrase. It turned out to be really true this season. They got one more game left. Maybe Reggie Gilliam or Jalen Virgil, or maybe an offensive lineman like Alec Anderson or Deion Dawkins. Somebody can catch a touchdown and the Bills can set the all-time record. But if you're a Bills fan and you're a Jets hater, of which admittedly I am both, pretty fun day, man. I know your day was hectic and all, so maybe you didn't get to enjoy it as much. But it was a good day to be a Buffalo Bills fan for sure.
It worked out for me because we were traveling back from Buffalo, and thank God for Paramount Plus. Shout out to them. I'm sure they want to be a sponsor on this show. But we were able to watch them on the. I was in the back seat while my kid was napping for most of the first half, part of the second half, and I watched it. Pretty good transition and all that, or transmission, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was a dominant performance. I felt, by the Bills, and I think they all three phases were pretty good today. The thing I came away with thinking, I was thinking about this a little bit. The Bills, you and I have talked a lot about the home field advantage, and we always kind of go to the offense, can the offense do well in the elements and all that sort of stuff. I've been kind of missing out on talking about the defense. I did the numbers, a quick numbers crunch. The Bills have given up about 16 points a game at home this year. On the road, it's almost 10 points more than that, 26. Mm-hmm. They've been really good at home, the defensive side of the ball. If you think about it, they shut down San Fran in the snow. They've had a lot of they destroyed Jacksonville. I know that's not a great thing to say, but Jacksonville only scored 10 points. Sure. It's been a really they've been really good at home, and I feel when you're at home, that's when the defense, that's an advantage more so for the defense. When you're you got the crowd noise, the adrenaline, teams are what the hell's going on a little bit. I think it affects the defense a lot more than it does the offense. And I think today, again, you go 8-0 for the first time since 1990 at home, and you're just giving up 16 points a game. And you had a couple to me, I think they had one clunker with you could call a clunker. It was the Miami game where I think they scored 28 or something like that. But everything else has been really good. So that's, it's kind of I take away from this a little bit is just the home field advantage this year has really worked for the Bills defense.
It has. And that's a good point because the defense has been exponentially better at home than it has been this season on the road. And of course, that's a good sign that the Bills potentially could have at least 2 and maybe up to 3 more home games still left. I want to put in the comments. See, Ralph Wilson Sr. said the Sabres won their 3rd in a row. Back to your regular schedule program. Tell you what, we're actually going to spend a couple minutes talking about them near the end of the show. You posted something that was really, really funny involving your son while you were in Buffalo. I want to, I'll save that a little bit for the end of the show. Before we get into this game too, I also, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw out some props. Everyone else is doing it, and I want to do the same as well. Much maybe to your chagrin, but congratulations to Bills fan Pinto Ron, man. Say what you will, but 500 consecutive games this guy has been to now, home and away, dating all the way back, I believe, to around 1994, with the exception of the COVID year when nobody was allowed in the stadiums for part of the season. This dude has been at every game for 500. That is pretty goddamn remarkable any way you look at it, dude.
Yeah, I got no beef with Pinto Ron. He's a good dude. I've drank out of his bowling ball before. I had food there. Unlike you're pandering, of course. You don't go to tailgates. You don't go to games, and so I'm a real person with him. I'm down with his tailgate. So, I'll give you a quick Pinto Ron story. So I worked on a show once called The Marriage Ref. Mm-hmm. It aired in 2010, 11. And it was a show where it was produced by Jerry Seinfeld. Basically, couples had this unique argument that they needed to get solved. And we went to Buffalo. I pitched it. I was like, we need to go to Buffalo. I know the people there. They're crazy. It's all good. And we had a stand at the Bills game, and we interviewed him for an audition with him and his wife, because I was like, we got to interview this guy. This guy's going and getting ketchup. She has to think this is crazy. And we interviewed him, and he unfortunately didn't make the cut. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I put him up there. He doesn't annoy me. He seems like a good dude. I've met him. I've talked to him. He's a good dude.
The consensus with a lot of people that I've heard with Bills fans and otherwise who are at tailgates, yeah, he's a great dude. And again, congratulations to him. But the lot that he hangs out with leaves something to be desired. The people who run the Hammers lot. from what I understand. We really don't need to get into all that. But anyway, just big congratulations. Dude, 500 in a row. I mean, that is remarkable. My friend, anyway, Sarah Larson's done 78 in a row now. And the difference with her, like with Pinto Ron, so he lives here. Even if he goes to half the games are at home, half are on the road, that's still 225, 250 road games through the years on the road. Sarah's got a nice streak going too. She's at 78, but she lives in Florida. So she's flying to Buffalo. So every game except for the Dolphins at Hard Rock is a road game for her. So anyway, just some super fans, and they definitely deserve a little bit of shine. Back to this game, I'm going to give you a quick confession. Maybe you think I'm silly, and I wanted to ask you what you were thinking. But going into this game, when I woke up here on Sunday morning, I'm not going to say I was like scared, but I was a little more worried about this game than I was letting on this past week. I thought that the Jets were going to treat this like their Super Bowl. And I kind of felt that way like 90 minutes before the game, teams released their inactives. And all week long, Devontae Adams was questionable, did not practice. Sauce Gardner with a hamstring, best defensive back on their team, one of the better corners in the league. DNP did not practice all week. Quentin Williams, who has dominated the Bills at times through the years, he was another one with a hamstring. He didn't practice. I'm like, at 11:30, I didn't even care who the Bills inactives were. I went right to the Jets, and all three guys were playing. I'm like, this is a football team. This is their Super Bowl. They desperately want to win. It sounds stupid now, but at the moment, I was a little bit worried about the Jets, man. I thought we were going to get the New York Jets' best shot today, and they were going to try to play spoiler for the Buffalo Bills. I really kind of felt that way going into the game. I don't know how everybody listening, how you felt waking up Sunday morning, but that's how I felt. How'd you feel? Or you didn't give a shit?
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all. I was super confident this week. I feel like you're a veteran team like the Jets. I think the car or whatever, they got their lockers already like cleaned out. They're thinking about Cancun or golfing or Aaron Rodgers going on a retreat in a dark adventure or whatever. They're just like whatever. And you could kind of see it today. I wasn't too concerned. They have talent, but
they do. They got tons of it.
They just have a terrible. I hate to say the word culture, but like they just have like that whole office. Like I'm sure you saw the story last week about their owner like meddling in, messing up things in the organization, like rating people based off Madden ratings and talking to his teenage kids about certain players.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like they're just. I know you love to use the Sabres and Jets as a comparison. Forget that. I think the Sabres look like mediocre 7-9 like Bills from like the drought, but the Jets are just a disaster because at least the Jets, you could say they tried to go for it. They spent so much money on players and trades and like they went for it. They spare no expense and they're a disaster and it's hilarious. And today they got their asses handed to them and it's good for this year we didn't have that weird annoying Jets loss. Or where like you kind of felt worried about it, like you were like they beat the Bills in the last 2 years in the Meadowlands. So anyway, they're screwed. I hope Aaron Rodgers comes back next year because they're just a disaster. And who the hell wants to work for Woody Johnson at this point?
I agree with you. For context, by the way, this game, my worries were unfounded. That for this game was over in the first three quarters. It was 33-0 after the third quarter. I honestly think the Bills, if they wanted to, they could have scored 50 in this game. Josh Allen didn't even play the fourth quarter. The Jets had 3 turnovers through the first 3 quarters. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 4 times. They had 132 yards total offense. They were 0 for 5 on 3rd and 4th downs. 15 penalties for 111 yards on the Jets through 3 quarters. The Bills were 3 for 3 in the red zone. Again, it was just an utter domination. And you said the word culture. I'm so glad you did. Because to me, there's one thing from each team that kind of symbolizes the differences between these two football teams right now. It's no secret, and we're going to spend a few minutes in a little while talking about Josh Allen and his MVP case, okay? We'll put that out there for people listening. But there's no secret. The Bills want him to be MVP. Of course they do. Touchdowns matter. Stats to some extent matter. And the Bills get to the 1-yard line, and everybody's saying, all right, tush push, Josh, get that second rushing touchdown of the game. And what did they do? They handed the ball off to James Cook, easy touchdown. Josh Allen could have scored. That was in the moment showing you that we're a team. You know what I mean? It's not about one player. Meanwhile, the Jets, they're getting fucking beat 40-0, and Devontae Adams is in the game because he's trying to get to 1,000 yards receiving for the season. You know what I mean? It's just the player on one team, the culture of the other. And there's a couple guys that go to the games, and I talk to them, and they usually offer me some takes or thoughts, and some I take a little more serious than others. And the biggest thing that dude told me from today's game wasn't so much what we saw on the field, it was the sidelines. He goes, every time you look at the Bills, there's enthusiasm, they're partying on the sidelines, they're congratulating each other, they're fired up. And then you look at the Jets sideline, and there's like a lot of standing around. There's a lot of non-talking. There's a lot of just bullshit. It's like being at a family party that you ain't trying to be at. You know what I know? The culture is a big difference between these two teams right now.
Well, I also think having a 4-11 record, it's going to make you miserable to come to work. We've seen that. The Bills were bad, and like everyone. I don't think there's any team that you can find, unless you're like, especially for that team, like where there's like high-priced guys. Like I'd be miserable too. So. But yes, there's definitely no structure with the Jets. There's structure with the Bills. And it will be interesting to see what the Jets do because, as you said, they have a lot of talent. And they need to find a good coach next year. I don't know whoever they want to find, but they've just been the same. They're just kind of they're fun to make fun of. Am I wrong? Like they're fun because like they're kind of unlikable and they're dorks.
They're very unlikable. They're incredibly unlikable. And by the way, Joe, that's not you and I saying, hey, it's the culture, it's eye over, team. Freaking Sauce Gardner was literally in the locker room after the game. I saw Kimberly Martin had some tweets, and he basically was saying that players have checked out, or he thinks that players have checked out. That's not you and I saying that. That's a player on the team that is saying that. A player who, by the way, was out of the game, I think, in the second quarter, it didn't return. I feel like, in this game, early on, I think there were a couple key plays and sequences that really kind of set the tone for this to be a blowout. One of them, the Bills, so they go down the field, they score first, won the toss and received the ball, did not defer. That surprised me, and that has not worked out well for the Bills this season, but it worked this game. They wanted to get off the fast start, and they did. Well, the Jets get the ball, and this is one of the things I'm talking about. The Jets get the ball, they're driving, and it's 3rd down and 2, and Aaron Rodgers, I forgot the tight end's name, but it was number 88 or 89. Throws it at his ankle. Dude is wide open. He could have somersaulted in 3 times into the end zone. He was so wide open. And Aaron Rodgers with a complete shit throw at the guy's ankles. And then the very next play was 4th and 1, and Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver combined to get a stop. Right there, it should have been an answer. It should have been 7-7. The Jets went right down the field, and if Aaron Rodgers ain't a scrub at this point of his career with a shit throw, it's 7-7. You also had a play where Sam Martin punted for the Bills, and they pinned the Jets at like the 5. Then the Jets, undisciplined, a false start, and then on 1st down, Smoot has a really nice run stop, and then it's 2nd and whatever from the 1-yard line, and bam, A.J. Epinesa gets a sack. It's 9-0. With just a few minutes left, and before the half, the Bills tack out a field goal. It's 12-0, and the Bills at that point are, they're never threatened again. The Jets get the ball to start the second half. They drive a little bit. They get to the 37. It's 4th and 5. They show to go for it. What do? Delay a game. 4th and 10. They punt. To me, that was just surrender. Aaron Rodgers is completely washed up. Like, let's pretend you're a Jets fan for 2 minutes here. He's got to go, right?
Yeah, he's got to go. I mean, he has played well like the last like month and a half. I think they showed like his last like 6 games. He has 14 touchdowns. Yeah, but like you don't want him on your squad. I mean, he's definitely not the same. And I would wonder how much he's been humbled by all this because there's no way you're going to be.
Lots of comments by the way. In the
Tyra got 2 touchdowns in there. Good for.
Yeah, good on the Bills fans too. By the way, they gave him some love. I'm glad that they still appreciate him through these years. With what he did for Buffalo. Yeah, Cake said, I think Rodgers just played his last game. I think Tyrod closes their season. I could see that. I could see that. I could see them complete. They play Miami next week, by the way, in New York, in New Jersey, whatever you want to call it.
I'm sure tickets are like $5, to go there. But yeah, good for Tyrod. I've always liked Tyrod. I feel like he deserves that Ryan Fitzpatrick. He should start and be the bridge to the younger guy career. You know what I mean? And then you hold the cup for the guy. But
Aaron Rodgers looked like dead man walking. He certainly did.
He's dead. He's done. I can't wait to see him on. I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but
couldn't have happened to a bigger piece of shit. By the way.
Oh, here we go. Anything else? Come on,
he's a lousy person. He's a lousy person. That fumble that he had too, or what he didn't fumble. I'm sorry, I don't want to blame him for a fumble he didn't have. Garrett Wilson had a fumble. Aaron Rodgers looked literally disinterested in trying to fall on the football. It was the play where Milano got to the ball. Again, he waves his arms in the air at a tight end, then he throws the ball at his ankles. He's just done it all year. He looked apart, like he clapped for Tyrod when Tyrod led him to a couple late garbage time touchdowns, which, by the way, I won't even acknowledge the total yards of stats because the fourth quarter, as far as I'm concerned, for the Jets doesn't even count. But he'll go on Pat McAfee on Tuesday and he'll say, oh, I got to be better. But you know what, organizationally, he don't take no bullets for his boys. I've said this a million times. I can never see Josh Allen ever being that way, no matter what, even if it's not Josh's fault. I guarantee you, Keon Coleman has a drop. I guarantee you, Josh Allen's going to say, I need to put that in a better spot. Aaron Rodgers ain't doing that. That's one of the many differences between these two at this point, at least anyway, of Aaron's, egomaniac career.
Yeah. I mean, it's what a difference. 5-6 years ago, I stuck up for Aaron Rodgers a little bit. Not like, oh, he's a stand for him, but I always felt he was a great talent. And I felt like, you know what? So he's a dick to some people. You're a talented guy. And then a lot of shit happened in 2020 and past that, and you could just see he was a space cadet, and he's an idiot.
Dude says, I hope the Jets bring back Aaron
Rodgers. We all do.
Look, I think, I don't want to get into this big Jets diatribe on a Bills post-game show, but the Jets set themselves back for sure 3 weeks probably, or 3 years probably right now by signing him. The last 2 years and probably some of the bullshit they're going to have to go through next year trying to find a quarterback and the cap situation and stuff that they're going to be in. That decision haunted them for these last 2 years. It's wild, too. They were so much more competitive when Zach Wilson was the quarterback because these guys, Sauce Gardner hit on it after the game. They just played better as a team than they did this year. This year was all about individuals, and then they get the coach fired. You know what I mean? you would think that would give them a spark. Well, it didn't. It did not at all. In fact, the Bills were the first team to play them after the coaching change, and they beat them in their house. It's just a dead ass season. And I love it. I hate the Jets and I cannot stand Aaron Rodgers. So
I just like to say, one of my ex-bosses, complete douche, was a Jets fan, and I did not get along with him. And I'm hoping he's pissed off right now somewhere. And he knows because he knew I was Buffalo Joe, the original Buffalo Joe, not your boy, the linebacker who played in the fourth quarter. But I hope he's thinking oh, that guy had his Bills and they're destroying my Jets. Go. Life comes at you pretty fast, buddy. But with all that said,
it does. Enough about Aaron Rodgers, though.
Again, let's go to the Bills.
You watched the game, you saw it. He was lousy. His offensive line was lousy. Just once the avalanche came, it didn't stop. Bills offense. All right, look, it wasn't perfect. I don't even know that it was great. It was certainly good enough. I did love taking the ball. It was a 12-play, 70-yard drive to start the game, and I felt like they set a tone very early in this game. Of course, the referee set a fucking tone early in the game, too. 5 penalties, literally on the Bills' first drive, 5 flags were thrown, and it was that kind of day. You couldn't really, as a fan, it sucked. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'm talking about the physicality. Alec Anderson was in there going at it with players, Spencer Brown. The offensive line was chirping. They were getting really physical, and the Bills wanted to be physical right away, kind of take their spirits away. I remember going to our preview show that I did on Friday, and I said one of the keys for the Bills, don't let the Jets get any hope. You let the Patriots get hope last week. The Jets are just ready to get beat. They're ready to be defeated. They're ready to run for the bus. Give them a reason to. And I kind of felt like on that first drive, the Bills did. The third quarter, again, they had a 21-point explosion, but offensively, they really didn't have to do a lot. Their touchdown drives were 38 yards, 37 yards, and 15 yards. So, the great field position because of the turnovers. And as far as Josh Allen, look, 16 of 27, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown. Again, stats ain't going to blow you away, but he didn't play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
He didn't have to play in the
the game was over with 20. Sure. It was your typical home game where the game was over with 20 minutes left. Basically.
And like I said, for sure. And like I said, he could have had another touchdown. He could have had another tush-push touchdown. He did set history. He became the first player in the history of the NFL ever to have 40 total touchdowns in a season. Now 5 straight years. I want to get your opinion on this. I know everyone has an opinion as well. It's getting to the time of year where there's not, well, in Josh Allen's case, he's made his case. It's done. I feel comfortable right now after today's game saying that I think Josh Allen deserves the MVP. And it goes beyond stats. The record matters to me. They're 13-3. The expectations matter to me because this was supposed to be a team that was second or third best in their own division. And what they lost in the offseason, he lost his all-pro wide receiver who got traded, Diggs, Gabe Davis, 4 receivers from last year. This was supposed to be an offense and a team that was going to take a step back. And here we are talking about Josh Allen. What do you think at this point? Is he your MVP? If you got to vote right now and you're casting it, or are you going to wait one more week? Because Lamar is going to play another game.
I'm probably going to wait, objectively speaking, one more week. I do think Josh Allen is the MVP. You just took my heat as always. Yes. It's mostly about the lack of weapons. He missed the guys. Now, I think Lamar has a good case. I think it's Josh versus Lamar. That's what it is right now. You know what I mean? And Barkley can get the and it's all about cats. I would love to get some writers on here. I mean, we don't. I won't, but you will. Who what do you look at? Are you looking at the schedule? Are you looking at the stats? Are you looking at who they play and where their defensive rankings are? What are you looking at to assess this thing? Because again, Lamar has better numbers. You
100%.
You can't deny that. He's only going to be maybe a game or two behind the Bills, when it's all said and done, in terms of win-loss record. Yeah.
Well, maybe one technically.
I get what you. Yes. The Bills don't care about. It's not that big of a difference, but he's played better, Lamar, this year than he has in these other MVP years.
He won MVP last year. He had 29 total touchdowns last year. Total rushing and throwing, and he won MVP.
Yeah, and last year was different because, as I said before, I've said this before. Josh Allen shouldn't have won MVP because the first 12 games he was kind of a disaster until Brady came in. I mean, there's memes of Josh Allen looking like someone killed his puppy.
You could say Josh Allen lost 2 games last year in the first.
Yeah, I mean, So it's a good debate. It's been, I know you've, I peaked. I wanted to bring this up because I peaked. I'm mostly on Blue Sky, as I've talked to people before, but I do check in on Twitter occasionally. And I saw everyone very angry at Bart Scott on Friday or something because, he had said something along the lines of Josh cares about the MVP more than winning, which if you watch the whole segment, he didn't really say. They established in the beginning that, oh, hey, they both want to win a Super Bowl. And he was right, because if Lamar wins the MVP and he loses right away in the first round, or he's screwed. It's going to be tainted because he hasn't had a good playoff game. I mean, he was okay against the Texans last year, but he hasn't had a defining
2-4 in the playoffs.
His
stats suck too.
His stats suck. Yeah, he's had one good. Why Josh Allen has been really good in the playoffs, and they're right. And he was exactly right. If he won the MVP, Josh Allen, and they lost in the divisional round, everyone, I think there would be oh, well, he did it without his top wide receiver and the turnover, the turnover in the offense. It's not a genius. I mean, he misspoke when he said to Josh Allen, me. Anyone, this is so stupid because name me one player in NFL history who has been on the record to say, you know what? I care about MVPs way more than I care about Super Bowls. No one says that.
Not publicly, they don't.
Not publicly. Well, no one has said that, and I don't think they do. I think he just misspoke. Bart Scott's not a scholar over here. Right. He's a talk show host, or I don't know what the heck he does. But everyone couldn't wait on Bill's Twitter to just quote tweet that one clip thing, raking from the Billsograms influencers to the content bros to the Bills bro beat. They couldn't wait. I saw that because I saw the hoopla. I was like, oh, I gotta go see this comment. And I saw it. I was like, I kind of think he misspoke. And then I saw the whole thing, and I was like, this isn't nothing. Bart Scott was right. And 4 years. I said this 2 weeks ago, and for those who weren't listening, that's your loss. But I've said Bill's Twitter and has always been obsessive about Lamar Jackson. They've always hated him. I don't know why. They hated him his rookie year. I remember being on Twitter when he struggled and people were jerking off all over his grave. And I don't know what it is. I sometimes wonder, and I'm going to get a little bit political here a little bit. I know you love that. But I remember 15 years ago, Rush Limbaugh, rest his soul, wherever the hell he is these days. he said like the national media was obsessed with like a black quarterback like doing well, and then he got canned off of ESPN. And I do, if you go look at Clay Travis's tweets, like that guy's an idiot and he's a race baiter. And I do think there are people who think like, oh, it's because it's woke and like they want the black guy to win the quarterback. That's why they did it last year, And I'm not saying it's a large portion of people, but right. I do think there are people who think that. I think, oh, there's and it's just like whatever. Like it's. Like I'm with you. Like let's just marvel at how great both these guys are. But we can debate it. But we don't have to be like so angry about it.
It's not just Bills fans though, Joe. I've seen nasty what the Ravens flock. I saw a lot of it this week. It goes both ways. You're right, and there is a political race element to it. And it would be delusional to think that plays no role in how some people feel about Lamar Jackson.
I'm very glad you think that.
Say it's something otherwise. 100%.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, but it's a fun debate because I think it's very interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're fun to say. Like, who's better? I mean, I could get it gets tiring because it gets like, okay, enough already. It's been 2 months and like we've been debating this, and like after a while, you're like, enough already. But yeah, it's a fun thing. Like, but like if Josh Allen loses, there are going to be people who are going to lose their freaking mind. In Buffalo, they're going to lose their mind. They're going to donate to their favorite charity. Alex Batchke, your boy, the Batavia jobber, he's going to start like a freaking I don't know, a GoFundMe for like the people who disrespected Josh Allen or whoever the hell knows. I can't think of it. I got dad brain. But like anyway, those people are going to be so angry. Shout out to the Batavia jobber. He's my boy. They're going to be so angry about this. It's like whatever. Like good. Like lose it as motivation. And he could do it. Like, who cares?
Stop
pandering, people. Not you. Like, you pander, but like, there are some really bad panders out there. Like, just enough, people. Relax.
I want to pull out this comment. I was just about to jump in and say this anyway. Carnage, who's in the live chat, beat me to it. He says we have Josh, Lamar, Pat Mahomes, and Joe Burrow for the next 10 years. It's a great time to be a football fan. I tweeted about that this weekend. I said you'd have to go all the way back to the days of Elway, Kelly, Marino, and Warren Moon when you had 4 quarterbacks this good at the same time in the same conference playing at the level that these 4 guys are playing at. It's just fun as a football fan. If Joe Burrow somehow, if the Bengals backwards their way into this playoff somehow, you got to give Joe Burrow some serious consideration for MVP too. This guy's playing out of his fucking mind to the point that not just Bills Mafia, I guarantee you Kansas City, Baltimore, nobody wants Cincinnati right now to be in the playoffs. Let me do this objectively. I hope I'm being objective anyway with the whole Lamar and Josh Allen thing. And because I just think it's fascinating. But if I'm crowning Josh Allen, if I'm picking Josh Allen as my MVP, and I want to explain to the people why I made my votes, this is the biggest thing I would say. For Lamar, and again, he is amazing. I love watching Lamar Jackson play, but you do have to hold losses against Vegas and who was the other? Cleveland, the 2 teams that they lost. So you got to hold that against them a little bit. And also, I would say you got a running back who's got 1,700 something yards. That's got to count. That's got to matter. And you look at Josh Allen, and I would say this: MVP players should play their best in the biggest moments. And you go back to the Bills' 2 signature wins this season, okay? They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, which, as it turns out, they're the only team in the NFL that beat the Kansas City Chiefs this year, minus maybe some backups next week, and Denver does it. But they're the only team that's beaten the Chiefs. And they went to Detroit, and they ended an 11-game winning streak for Detroit. And in both those games, quite literally, Josh Allen won AFC Offensive Player of the Week in both those games. Matter of fact, were it not for his defense, to decide to take the day off, Josh Allen with 6 touchdowns total against the Rams, he wins AFC Offensive Player of the Week that week as well. He would have did it 3 straight weeks, but he did it 2 out of 3 against 2 or 2 out of 4 against the best 2 other teams, in my opinion, in the entire NFL. So you play your biggest games and your biggest moments. And then the other thing I would say is, if you're an MVP caliber player, you got to, how you get there is you find a way to take what your weaknesses are and make them strengths. Josh Allen's weakness throughout his entire career has been he's turnover prone. Even when he's great, he's turnover prone. But he has consciously made a strong effort to not do that this year. And once he got 8 turnovers now in 16 games, that's a half a turnover a game. So that and the accolades against the best teams is why I think at the end of the day, Josh Allen would get my vote.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what I would make the case for Lamar. I mean, it's like, aside from his stats are great and they got the skill guy. sometimes I think about defense. Like, are you carrying your team because your defense is like floundering a little bit? They're right now, as it stands, like going into today, the Ravens are ranked 15th in total defense, which is pretty respectable. The Bills are actually ranked. These are just the regular stats. I know there's DVOA and all that shit that everyone has tattooed on their asses, but the Bills are 22nd, in terms of giving up yardage. So, and he did beat Golf in a shootout, in terms of that. But yeah, I think it's definitely Josh Allen's going to win it. I really do feel like I'm waiting. Like, who do the Ravens have next week? My apologies.
They play at home against Cleveland. They're going to stomp them, and they're going to get that. And they need to win that game because they need to lock down the AFC North. If Pittsburgh were to play on Saturday, if Pittsburgh played on Saturday against Cincinnati, that game could get moved to Saturday. And if Cincinnati lost that, or if Cincinnati won that game, then Baltimore would have nothing essentially to play for on Sunday. Then maybe they would probably not be as aggressive and try to win. But as things stand right now, they play Cleveland and they need that win to lock up the AFC North.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun debate because, like, look, you can sit there and go with the numbers and go, Josh Allen's stats aren't as, like, they're not at the 2020, 2021 range, whereas Lamar's are better than they were during his MVP year. But
sure,
those are just me being the
my guy Ranger. Good comment here too. He said, "When was the last time Josh was throwing a really bad interception? Most of them have been like punts." Yeah, look, man, he hasn't made a lot of mistakes. Here's the thing too: MVP talk is fun, and it does matter. It means something, but these guys are headed on a collision course, and you could take MVP and make it anything you want it to be. But what's going to really matter is these guys seem like they're on a collision course to play each other in a couple weeks in the divisional round. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because both teams need to get to that point. But
we're not reviewing the game next week, right? We're barely going to review New England, right? We don't care because they're going to bench their guy. I'm not. I mean, I've already told my wife I'm out. Like, we don't got to watch this game, so we can go to the mall or make out or whatever. Like, we don't got to do any of this. Like, we have to watch. So
defensively, all right. Look, we've been talking now for a half hour. We've barely talked about a Bills defense that was dominant in this game. Again, I'm going to go to the first three quarters. Forget the garbage time stats.
Sure.
132 yards the Jets only got. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 4 times, and they had 3 turnovers in this game. I thought Greg Rousseau was awesome. He had that 4th down stop in the first series of the game. He had a tip on the Jordan Phillips interception, which was kind of funny. I'm gonna give you I'll be honest with you. I didn't see to play it in real time. I was staring down, looking at my computer or something. I looked up and I was like, oh, Jordan Phillips has the ball. He has an interception. That was pretty sweet. He also had a sack in this game. And I also thought, so props to him. And I also thought Ed Oliver had a really good game again. He had a sack. He had 3 tackles for a loss. AJ Vanessa had a sack safety. But Ed and Groot, those are the guys that got to stand out. If the Bills are going anywhere in the playoffs, it's got to start there. Those got to be the 2 guys that got to really stand out. I want to talk about Matt Milano in a second here, but you agree that Groot, Ed Oliver, they were up to task big time today.
The defensive line had a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers today, and they were good against the run. And Rodgers, I think he had his worst showing this year in terms of passing yards, and they were all over him. And everyone, and I liked AJ Epinessa's game. I think having another guy, Von Miller had a sack too, right? I believe Von Miller had a sack, right? Am I wrong?
Who?
Von Miller, he had a sack, right?
Yeah, he had a sack. Yep.
Yeah, he had a sack.
One in 9 games now, but yeah.
So it's important to get that pass rush going because in the playoffs, you're not playing, washed up Aaron Rodgers anymore or whatever, or the Drake Mayo, whatever. All these other guys, you're playing like it's a murderer's row of quarterbacks you're playing against coming up in the playoffs. So you need that defensive line to really get after the quarterback, and they're the last couple of weeks they've really gone after the quarterback. And Rousseau has looked good. AJ Epinesa, he's got a lot of good speed, especially on that safety. He blasted past the tackle who was, I don't know if he was ready or what the heck happened, but he flew past him and got Rodgers for the safety. And yeah, I agree. That is how they're going to be this. I think if you were to pinpoint when the defense had their lapses this year, and they have had those, it's when they couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. When they can get pressure, that's when we come on here and we kiss their asses and they're like, hey, the defense looked good. It's when they get pressure. And that's what it's all about. And, Babbage blitzes a lot more than Leslie Frazier did, or even Sean McDermott, and we saw that today with some creative blitzing. And I think you're going to need to get after the quarterback. You got to get a couple of stops in the playoffs. You got Josh Allen, this high octane offense, et cetera, that gets 30 a game. You need a couple of stops, and you're going to get that with your defensive line, I believe.
They have to.
Yes.
They have to. They're a team. Look, I mean, find me a team that's good, and I'll tell you, they're probably a team that's going to get out to a lead and make the opponent one-dimensional. But in the Bills' case, that truly means so much. The other guy I wanted to hit on was Matt Milano. He had a fumble recovery, which was nice, but that play really didn't define the game for me. It was just the right place, right time. It was, I think it was Ed Oliver. It was Ed Oliver. How do I, I'm giving Ed his flowers. I forgot he also forced a fumble there I believe on Garrett Wilson. But anyway, yeah. Milano falls on that ball. That play aside, again, he whipped on a tackle or two off the top of my head. I'm looking forward to going back and watching the film. He's going to be somebody that I really want to lock into on Monday when I watch this back. But I still don't think he's found that Matt Milano gear yet. Like, he's not playing at that level by any means. But I thought he looked by far the best of any of the 4 games he's played. I was really concerned that he missed last game because he is like, this guy needs reps. He's got to be out there. I was much more impressed with him this game. And after a week where I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I would have started Dorian Williams. If this was a playoff game, I personally, if I was Coach Moran, would have started Dorian Williams.
Moran, oh my God.
No, that was actually, it even felt corny coming out of my mouth. But my point was I would have started Dorian Williams this week. After this game, and if I got a playoff game next week, Coach Moran is going back to Matt Milano. He'll be okay. He's not going to be all-pro Matt Milano, but I think he's going to be good enough.
We'll see. There was the one play I remember that Devontae Adams they did a really short pass to him underneath, and Milano kind of had a beat on him, and he missed him. Do you remember that play? Like, were you DMing someone on Twitter?
It was tough. It was Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
that was a tough play, though, man. That dude, he's gonna.
It was, and I kind of sat there, and when I was watching it in my car, and I was like, "Ooh, is that one of those like old Ed Oliver, like, or not Ed Oliver, Matt Milano lost a step kind of things?" And I thought, it's a wide receiver. That's a tough play. I'm not. Sure. If it was a tight end, then you're like that. But other than that, like, I didn't really notice him all that much. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think
it's the big divide between fans. I could tell it's coming. Dorian Williams versus Matt Milano. We just had somebody, if you're listening to this on the video side, say Williams would have made that tackle. Mark said that on Adams. I don't buy that.
I don't know. I have to look at it again.
Dorian Williams is a better athlete right now, and I think maybe even a little bit better tackler. But yeah, I don't think he makes. I don't think he makes it play. Matt Milano had a couple nice run fill gaps. I know that. Again, I'm looking forward to watching. I gotta
watch it again.
Watching this film. If he's been 65% of what he was the first 3 weeks, I'd say he was up to 80%. We'll talk in a little bit about. I think he should start next week. By the way, I think he should play a lot too.
Oh, what? No.
Yeah, no. I do. No. I got to get him. Got to get him a little more active.
Stop it.
We'll debate that. We'll debate that.
No, we'll debate that. I'm not coming on your podcast to debate that. No. You should not. No one that makes more than $2 million a year should be playing next week. Get all your boys. Buffalo Joe, Joe Biscaglia, Alex Bashke, get all them to play. No, we're not playing him so you can get reps. No.
You don't got 90 guys on the roster. This ain't preseason, bro. No. You can't sit every starter.
Play 10 guys. 10 guys on the field. I don't care. They can't flag it. Let them give up. No, we don't need to see Matt Milano get more reps. It's good. Get him in practice. You got a big game the week after. We're good. No.
All right. Well,
Italian discrimination by you with Matt Milano. That's what I'm calling.
My point is that I was encouraged for the most part.
So if you're encouraged, why do you got to play him next week?
Because I want to see him get more work because I just feel like he needs
work in practice. No, we're done. He should never be on, and this should be his last regular season game if they're going to cut him in the offseason. He's done. We'll see you in the playoffs, buddy.
I also wonder, some of these guys, I just feel like they were disinterested. This was a Jets team that just looked.
About the Jets again? Oh, God, more of them.
I mean, they did play the Jets, so I just keep coming. I keep coming back to that because I think the offensive line was just outgunned. They were undermanned. They're banged up and hurt as it was, and I think the Bills' defense just kind of gobbled that up. But I just thought they were a disinterested team. But anyway, a couple things I didn't like. I want to get into a few things here. I I don't like this model for this defense right now. Like, they're reliant. This defense played great today because of the takeaways. Okay, that's why they played great. Is the takeaway model for this defense sustainable, like for the playoffs? You go back to this game, Joe, and it was 33-0. You're like, what in the fuck is he talking about? How is this competitive? The first 2 times the Jets had the ball, they drove 48, they drove 62 yards. Again, their first drive should have been a touchdown pass. Aaron Rodgers sucks. That's a decent throw. It's an easy touchdown. The second time, they were in the red zone. Rousseau tipped the pass, and Jordan Phillips, right place, right time, gets the interception in the red zone. It's just that they're reliant on these turnovers, and blowout or not, a team that doesn't turn the ball over 2 to 3 times when you're playing the Bills and stays committed to being physical, wanting to run the football, I worry about a lot. I saw things like the defensive tackles after Ed Oliver, like Jaquan Jones. I don't know what's going on with him, man, but I ain't seeing shit from him.
Well,
I don't hate him.
He's not a Talking Buffalo listener. You hate him.
No, that's inaccurate, dude. I pushed for his resigning.
No, you did. You love him. He's one of your boys. He's on your
but he's not playing good. He's not doing anything.
Pat.
Dwayne Carter, rookie or not, he's out there. Austin Johnson was deactivated. He didn't play this game. Dwayne Carter's getting pushed around a lot. The defensive tackles are getting moved when teams want to be physical and run the football against the Bills, and that concerns me a lot.
Sure, but I don't think you can say that today, though. They had a couple of good drives, the Jets, but I agree in totality. I don't think you should be – this game – look, it's tough to say because, look, the Jets have some weapons, obviously. They've been a little bit better offensively speaking. Mm-hmm. I do agree. I am worried about the defense, especially against the teams that they're gonna be coming up in the playoffs. And the narrative, and it's not even a narrative, it's the fucking fact. Like the last 3 playoffs, the Bills' defense has been putrid in their elimination games. And it is a worry. Like, I agree with you. I am worried about the Bills' defense a little bit in regards to that. With that said, it's going to be because this game did not really change that for me. You know what? A little bit in more of the positive, because they did shut down the Jets' offense. They did, and like you're right. There's so many different opinions on turnovers. Like some folks think turnovers are luck. Others think it's about
it's a combination of both.
It's a combination. I do think it is
about Ed Oliver made a magnificent play on that strip on Garrett Wilson. That's just a great play.
Yeah.
Christian Benford, pretty nice interception. We've seen other plays this year. DeMar Hamlin's gotten a couple gifts as interceptions, this season. It kind of goes both ways. I just feel like this team's a little. I mean, turnovers are amazing, and they'll cover up. Hey. Who gives a shit if your defensive tackles ain't playing that good? If you're going to get 2 to 3 turnovers a game, you're going to make up for all that and then some. What happens when they play a team like Baltimore or the Chiefs in the playoffs?
No, hey,
and they're going to turn the ball over 3 times.
I agree with you. It is. They might not
concerning.
It is a bit concerning. I have said before that against the shitty quarterbacks or against bad offenses, they're great. Mm-hmm. Against the top tier offenses, they can be beaten. But if you have Josh Allen scoring at will, then it's going to help the defense a lot. I've always said this, like the best defensive player right now for the Bills is Josh Allen. They're scoring a lot, and the other team's got to freaking panic and have to start throwing more, etc. The Bills defense can eat.
They've literally scored more points than they've ever scored in a season in the history of the franchise right now.
Yeah, the history's not
feel like it sometimes, man. It don't feel like that sometimes.
I do agree. I think it's really about matchups. Who are you worried about in terms of? Let me ask you this. I ask you this every week. Like your 3, and I want to see if it changed at all. Like your 3 teams you're scared of right now. Give me your 3 teams that are in good playoff bound. Who are they? Tell me right now.
I'll answer that in a few minutes.
I hate when you have to stick with your formats. I hate you.
It's not even about sticking to a format, but there's just more about that leads to what I'm going to tell you in my answer.
I call the finisher.
When I talk about things that I'm not liking about this team right now, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about DeMar Hamlin missing 3 straight games now. Cole Bishop, to me, it's a fascinating thing. We want him to be really good. And he does some things better than DeMar Hamlin does. I think he's a better run filler. I think he's a more physical safety. No question about it. But he got beat for a touch, and I don't give a shit if it wasn't late in the game. He got beat a couple times.
Come on. It's late in the game. They're just fucking coasting.
So it doesn't matter that he gets fucking beat.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
One-on-one coverage doesn't matter. He got beat more than that earlier.
So wait a minute. So don't we say when it's like 40-0, people back off on defense? They always do. I'm not. Look,
he got beat on a play for a touchdown, one-on-one, period. And that's not the only time he got beat, by the way, for the game.
Did you get Cole in your stocking for Christmas? You're miserable, right?
He's not ready to be the starter. He's not ready.
I agree. He's probably not. You're right. I mean, but it's the fourth quarter. You're pulling something out of your ass in the fourth quarter when it's 40-0.
You want to talk about the first 3 quarters in? You don't think he made mistakes in the first 3 quarters as well?
I don't want to say I watched the film, but I watched the condensed version to see how much he messed up. But I'm not
saying he was garbage. What I'm telling you is that he makes mistakes. He's aggressive and it could cost him. Whereas Damar Hamlin is a different type of player. Damar Hamlin is safe. I'm not going to make a bunch of big plays, but I'm also, you ain't getting behind me for a touchdown. We've seen 2 of the 3 long passes against the Bills this season have been on Cole Bishop. And I'm not talking about the fourth quarter today either, just so we're clear on that. So that concerns me a little bit, and I'm being a little bit nitpicky here, but Keon Coleman is the type of player right now, okay? I love the ceiling. I love the potential. I love the prospects of Keon Coleman. But right now, don't trust the dude. He is elite at when a play breaks down and Josh gets on the move. He's got to go up and make a play like he did. I mean, there's a photo. He looked like he was 20 feet in the air making that touchdown catch today. He does shit like that. He got deep downfield on a really nice play that got called back. More on that in a second. Improvising, Keon Coleman is lethal, but route running, separation just don't seem to be there, and he's dropping passes. He had another drop on a slant pass this game. That's like the 3rd time I've seen that this season. My point is this: a big spot in the game. You got to get. It's 3rd and 6. You got to make that catch. You got to make that play. I got worries about him right now as a rookie, to the point where I trust Mac Hollins in that spot, that kind of 3rd and 6 critical spot. You need to score. You need to drive here. You need to control the football. I'm trusting Mac Hollins a little bit more right now in that spot. And I wouldn't be surprised come playoff time. It's Cooper, Mac Hollins, and Shakir mostly in 3 receiver sets for now.
Yeah. Your boy, the cat hater, has been playing much better. Like since we kind of
first drive, he was huge today.
Yeah, he was big today. Look, he's a rookie. He's gonna have some drops, but you're right. Like it is a little bit of a concern for having 2 of those drops. But he's great when the stuff breaks down. But again,
he really is too. He makes those plays,
Pat,
man. God,
how important is Keon Coleman really to this offense? Is he really that important? Like you have Shakir,
no.
You have Kincaid, you have Knox, you have Cook. It's not like the offense runs through him, and they have Cooper.
Don't run through anybody.
Yeah, except Josh. So it's kind of like you got to catch the ball, but I don't. I want more Cooper. I mean, he had that great touchdown today. Like Cooper was great. Like he had that awesome touchdown throw. I need a little bit more from him. That's kind of more.
Do you buy that? Do you think they're saving a little bit? Like Josh
said
after the New England game.
He said that last week. Yeah, I could totally buy that. Buy that. Yeah,
I agree with you.
But yeah, I can totally buy that, and we hope they can do it. I'll say this too, because we spoke about the game more than I did. A few things I found interesting.
Like that.
Yeah, you're just always talking. I'm like, okay, I agree. Yeah, what am I going to fucking add? I got some hot takes. They really put in a lot of different. Their running backs, they really rotated them out a lot. I felt today, like they went with all 3 of them. Yeah. In terms of, and I wonder if that was kind of to keep guys fresh a little bit. Maybe they want to keep Cook a little bit more fresh for the playoffs, because I do wonder. There's like that basketball analogy when you go in the playoffs, you shorten your bench. Are you going to do that a little bit? When you get in the playoffs, are you going to shorten that bench? Like you said, Mac Hollins, are they going to shorten it and have Coleman not be as prevalent? Are they going to shorten the running back room and go, you know what? We want Cook. Cook's the guy that has all these touchdowns. He's been great. Like I love Cook. I think he's their number 1 running back. And I think he is the X factor to me that makes this offense different from the years past. They can run the football. Are they going to start are they going to shorten the bench and be like, we want our best guys out there? It's going to be interesting to see if they do it, because like they did a lot of rotation. That's all I'm saying. Like they did a lot. Like Ty got some good work today, and he's using. And I know they've done that a lot, but I felt today, I'm interested to see the snap counts, which they'll post on Pro Football Reference tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
in the box score, and everyone check it out. but yeah, I'm interested to see like what that snap count was, because I do think they're kind of, they did a lot of that offensively. I'll say this too, a couple things I wasn't happy about. I thought the offensive line had some issues today. The Jets do have a pretty, especially in the first half, they had some issues. I thought Josh looked great having some incompletions, like he had the one play where a guy was on his leg and he threw it 25 yards down the field. I was like, how the hell did you do that? Like that incompletion was great. Like that's a highlight reel incompletion. But the offensive line I thought wasn't great today. Deion Dawkins struggled. He's had a lot of penalties this year, Deion Dawkins, like a ton. And I definitely
McDonald from the Jets, the edge rusher, he had 2. He beat Dawkins back-to-back reps really.
Yeah. And I don't know, like you tell me, like are there any defenses in the playoffs that scare you at all, talent-wise? Is there anything like you're like,
yes?
Which one? Go tell me.
One, the Chiefs.
So you were scared of Chris Jones? Like,
yeah, he scared. Well, he's a game wrecker. But no, they got a good pass rush, dude. The Chiefs got a good. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, not because of Pat Mahomes or anyone on offense.
Well, they've been better
defense at this last 2 years. They're good on defense.
Yeah, they are, and their offense has been better as of late. What about the Chargers? The Chargers are my dark horse. Like you should worry about them. They got both. Is Bosa still playing? Here I'm an expert over.
Yeah, they're capable. They're capable. Yeah. They're going to be the 5 or the 6. So the Bills will not be playing them in the first round.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was going to say, you asked me about the running backs and shortening the bench. If they were to, I think the only guy who could lose some reps, maybe in the playoffs, is Ray Davis. Ty Johnson's a guy, A, he's a great pass blocker. B, he catches the ball, and they trust him. He can run that outside pitch. He's a savvy runner. Ray Davis may or may not. It might depend on the situation, but if they were going to shorten the bench, I think Ray Davis would be the one who would probably suffer a little bit from that. You mentioned the offensive line, too. I got to throw this out there. I like Spencer Brown, and I think all in all, he's having a pretty good season, but he's got to stop with these penalties. Every freaking week, man, he's got a penalty that hurts them. This week, it was a holding penalty that wiped out that amazing improvised deep throw from Josh down the field to Keon Coleman. So that really bothered me a lot. But going back to me, it's about the defensive tackles really setting the tone going forward in the playoffs. And these old veterans, I don't say old veterans, but the guys who have been around, when it gets to the playoffs, Von Miller is here to come up big in January. And I feel like he's been getting close. He had a sack today, which is really good. They need that in January. They need Amari Cooper to be a factor in the playoffs at some point. This team's just deep, man. I got to tell you, I look at this team right now, and it feels, I've been saying it all season, it just feels a little different to me than it has the last couple of years. The 13th year, I thought the Bills were a Super Bowl team. Last 2 years, I'm like, they can go, but I really wasn't feeling it. I'm feeling it right now, man. I really am.
I don't know how I feel like it's in terms of comparisons to the other years. I mean, yeah, maybe the synergy feels good. Like they really haven't, like outside of the 2 weeks, they haven't had like super issues. And even like the loss against the Rams, like the offense was freaking clicking great. And I mean, I can systematic. I'll bring it up to like 2020. I always thought was like their best shot, like up until this point. Like I really thought it was their best shot. You finished 13-3. They're clicking going into the playoffs, and then they lose to the Chiefs in the division round. The next year, I know you feel a little bit different than I do about the 13-2 game. I thought they beat a bunch of bad teams towards the end in that like 5-game winning streak, and they were 6-6.
They were going to the Super Bowl. They were 13 seconds away from going to the Super Bowl. They ain't losing that championship game to the Bengals at home.
Why would you say that? They got crushed by the Bengals the next year.
The next year.
Oh, so like there was what? They had a different fucking lunch? Like
your experience means a lot. Look at the Bills in 2019 versus 2020. Look how the Bills crumbled. Look how the Bills crumbled in 2019.
And talk over you right now. No, 2019 was different because like Josh Allen wasn't good enough yet, and they have Stephon Diggs. Come on, give me a break. No, that's bullshit. Okay, the Bengals had a good chance to beat them. The Bengals beat the Chiefs in the last week. See, I'm popping right now, and I'm sure you're angry right now.
The Chiefs beat the Bengals and went to the Super Bowl. The 13 seconds.
No, they didn't. The Bengals won. The Bengals won.
No, yes, wasn't it 2022 when the Bengals won the Super Bowl?
No, the Bengals in 2021 they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I remember I was in my honeymoon watching it. Going,
yeah, I still think the Bills.
No, you're full of shit.
That was their destiny.
No.
They were going.
Oh my God, destiny! What are you, fucking Darth Vader? Your destiny lies with me.
At this point, you're annoying me more than the refs did today. Which, by the way, the refs were. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
It was so. 23 penalties in this game. 9 in the first 17 minutes, and some of them were legit penalties, man. Some ticky-tack calls, but what really pissed me off more than anything, it was a Jets play, an offensive play, and they called defensive holding before the pass, defensive holding. A guy who was 30 yards away, the referee threw the flag, and he threw it 3 or 4 yards after the play was over. If it's pass interference, I could get a late call. This was offense or defensive holding before the pass, and the flag didn't come till like 10 seconds after the fucking play was over, or 10 out of 10.
So
like 5 seconds. I hate when referees make themselves part of the narrative, and that was so glaringly obvious. And look, a lot more calls went against the Jets than it did against the Bills, but it doesn't make it any more fun to watch. There's no flow.
There's
no
flow.
Get into the game. I mean, it's just annoying.
That's my biggest beef too. There's like no flow. And it's like, okay, like, you know, people complain about soccer. At least soccer, there's action constantly. And I know there's no breaks, but like,
yeah,
my God, like, come on. Like, I think it's going to get worse, Pat, because I've always said this. Like, the league always wants offenses to be like prevalent. And they're just going to call more holding calls. And we're like, okay, holding. But yeah,
someone asked what's in the black cup. Coke.
It's water. Oh,
with a little bit, tiny little.
I have to say, since you shitted all over my, you have a shot in there?
A little bit. I always have a little.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You're too professional.
No, not a strong one.
You're corporate Pat. This thing right here, the leaf pile. I'm giving it one more shout out. Is very good. It's a good pastry beer. It's in Greenport. I'm sorry, I know we're at the end of it almost anyway, but 8.5% alcohol, by the way, for this. Anyways, I
want to get to people left some comments. I definitely want to get to a few of them, but I do want to briefly talk about going forward now. All right, so the Bills are playing New England next week. Again, nothing to play for the Bills.
I'm not watching, so go find someone else to record that, man.
The Patriots currently have the top pick in the draft right now. Okay, all they got to do is lose, and they get the number 1 pick in the draft. And the Bills obviously have nothing to play for. That game is definitely going to stay Sunday at 1:00. By the way, that won't get moved because that game don't mean nothing to nobody. I was doing some math, and again, unlike the preseason where you can have 90 guys on your roster, you can only have 47 guys active. Okay, there's going to be some guys who are borderline starters, or at least they're going to have to play a little bit, maybe. But I got a list of 9 guys who, in my opinion, should not touch the field no matter what.
Okay.
I'm going to include Josh Allen, but let me say this. Josh Allen's going to start that game on Sunday. He's going to take 2 shotgun snaps, maybe even just 1. He's going to hand the ball off, then he's going to come off the field. He's got a 114 consecutive game streak, and he told Tony Romo that he cares about that more than MVP pretty much. So he's starting next week, but he's not going to play, all right? But we'll count him, even if he has 2 snaps. So Josh Allen, obviously, okay? James Cook, Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid, Deion Dawkins, and Connor McGovern, their center. So that's counting Josh as 1, 2, 3, 6 guys on offense. You ain't stepping foot on the field no matter what, okay? Except for Josh, ceremonial handoff. Defensively, Groot, Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford. None of those 3 are and Ed Oliver too. I'm sorry. Ed Oliver. So it's actually 10 if you count Josh Allen. None of them are stepping onto the football field no matter what. At some point, though, there's going to be guys like Russell Douglas might have to play some. Taylor Rapp might have to play some. Receiver, you're going to see a lot. Like Khalil Shakir might have to play a little bit here and there. You only can you can only elevate 2 guys from the practice squad. One of them is going to be Mike White for sure, because if Josh is only playing 1 snap, Mr. Trubisky can't be your only quarterback available for the game. So they'll call him up. Ray Davis might set an NFL record. He might get 70 carries in this football game.
All right.
But
a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
First, I would love to, if I remember correctly, so this is the second time in the McDermott, or third time in the McDermott era that they had everything clinched, like they weren't going to move up the standings. If I remember correctly, the Jets game, this was 2019. I think, like you said, Allen took one series and then he was out. They didn't play him again. Interesting enough, they played the Dolphins in 2020, and Allen played like a half. You remember that game? They scored like 53 points and knocked the Dolphins out of the playoffs, which is super weird. Like I'm kind of like, why would there be such an extreme? Like he played a half, and
that ain't happening Sunday.
I'm just saying, like there's wiggle room for that. They could want him to get a couple of touch. You never know. They could want him to get the MVP. I don't know. Like.
There's some positions where there's not enough backups that you got. There's not 10 offensive linemen that are active. So you can't bench every offensive lineman. Like Spencer Brown might have to play, or David Edwards, or Torrance. One of those two guards are going to have to start and play. You don't have 10 offensive linemen.
Well, look, I mean, they're gonna play Elam. He's gonna play.
He'll be active. He'll play. Him and Ingram will be the starters. Condriton will be the third. So I don't think you're going to see Rasul Douglas. Or you're not going to see obviously.
Is your boy Spector gone? How long is he out for?
He's on IR for the 10,000th time. Don't say that name on this podcast.
You'll love him. Never. Sorry,
your boy Buffalo Joe will start.
Oh man, I'm sure you're going to have a podcast completely dedicated.
Here's a fun fact. You want a fun fact?
Yeah,
guess who led the Buffalo Bills in tackles in this game against the Jets today?
Oh God,
Buffalo Joe Andreessen, baby, 8 tackles. Team high.
Maybe next year he'll.
I'll tell you this, and I'm not joking. I think he's better than Balen Spector.
Yeah, I mean, I'm better than Balen Spector. No, I'm not. I'll say this about your list of who shouldn't play. I mean, yes, you're right. Some people do have to play. I would probably put. You didn't say Terrell Bernard? I would probably take him.
I said him.
You did? Okay, good job. I wasn't listening.
He's got a better way. I want to see him play a little bit better.
Oh,
he's been okay. Terrell Bernard's been pretty good. Terrell Bernard is.
I can't believe you don't want. Let's just argue about Matt Milano playing. Like I think that's silly. Like you're gonna have him play. What's he got to prove against a New England team?
I'm not saying he's got to be out there for 70 snaps. He's got to get some work. Get him some work.
100 snaps. You want to break him down in the film room with Cover One and all those guys. I know he shouldn't be playing at all. No. He can sit on the sidelines with no shirt on and have the girls and the guys woo over him.
Safety will be another position where you might have to see a little bit of Rapp or Hamlin. I don't know. No. Here's another question. DeMar Hamlin's missed 3 straight games. He don't play next week. That's 4. Do you want a safety missing 4 weeks in a row and then coming in and starting?
You're giving me. You're giving me. Yeah, why not? People come back and when it's the end. He's played enough here. He knows the system. I don't know. You just buried your boy Cole Bishop, and then now you're like, oh, is Hamlin going to play? Like, why would you play him? You're making me panic when I just want to chill. Like now we don't. We can talk about other things like life. Like there's nothing to talk about until next week because now it's like we're waiting for the playoffs. Whoever the hell the Bills are going to fare. Now hold on. Okay, go ahead. Read your comment.
Go ahead. What were we going to say?
I want to know the fear bunker of the playoff teams. Rank them from just 1 to 4. I want your fear bunker. Has it changed?
Fear bunker meaning 1 is the team I want to play the least.
Yes, so the team you don't want to play at all.
As things stand right now,
yes,
Baltimore is the team I want to play the least.
Oh, you see, you had the Chiefs there for a while.
Yeah, I got Baltimore there for now.
Okay, interesting.
Baltimore there for now because they could play really good defense and they don't really turn the football over. However, I do think at some point it becomes habit and not just coincidence. Lamar Jackson does not play at the level that he does in the regular season. However, Derrick Henry is there. And again, I think the Bills' defensive line is pretty damn weak. And if they're committed to pounding the football, they scare me. Prefacing this by saying, I think the Bills can beat any team that I mentioned. You're making me name 4 teams. I think the Bills can beat.
You can have a fear. I agree with that. Like they could beat.
Baltimore. I got. You know what? I lied. Well, I got 1A and 1B. I got Baltimore's 1A.
No, there's no 1A, no 1B. It's 1 and 2.
There's a difference. Baltimore's in Buffalo. If that game was in Baltimore, I would be shitting myself at the thought of playing them. But it would be in Buffalo. Kansas City would be at Arrowhead. So it's right there with me. They're battle tested. They're proven. They got the biggest winner in sports right now at quarterback, Pat Mahomes. And I'm telling you, that defense is fucking tits. They're really, really good. And then 3, I don't know. I'm not scared of anybody else whatsoever. There's no one else that I have any fear. So you said 4, none. I respect the Chargers. I think the Broncos got a good defense. I'll be a little. I might change my answer if the Bengals somehow get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't make, because you did mention the Bengals a couple times.
They still need many things. They still got to win.
No, you're right.
They need to beat Pittsburgh. They need Denver to lose it against City backups, and they need Miami to lose to the Jets next week, which definitely could happen if Tua was out again. But if Cincinnati gets into playoffs, it'll be a different conversation.
That would be worrisome.
Now I have two teams. That's it. It's Baltimore and it's Kansas City, and there's nobody else that really scares me at all.
I'll say this though: the Baltimore, like the collision course, if it happens in the divisional round with Baltimore and the Bills, it's in Buffalo, like that's like if the weather's shitty, like it's gonna be. I don't want to say it's gonna favor Baltimore. It's gonna help Baltimore, in my opinion, because they're such a good running team.
If they play the Ravens again, if they play them again, you have got to commit to stopping Derrick Henry and saying, Lamar, if you beat me with your arm, I tip my cap to you. You're the GOAT. You're the best. That's the way. You're not going to let Derrick Henry go against light boxes and just give him a free 140 yards and a touchdown. You cannot do that. You will lose, or you'll have to win 38-35 if you do that.
And the other thing too with Baltimore, and I do agree, like the boogeyman to me is Baltimore. Like the Chiefs have been better. Like they got healthier. They've been clicking, and I've always said the Chiefs remind me of like Golden State, like a basketball team that's like, we're going through the regular season. Wake us up when we get to the playoffs, and like they're starting to do their thing. If I remember correctly,
go ahead.
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, in that loss to the Ravens, like where they pounded the Bills. The Bills didn't have Terrell Bernard. They didn't have Teron Johnson.
Correct.
They did not have, I think, was Kincaid hurt? They didn't have Amari Cooper, obviously, because he wasn't traded there yet. So, like, you were missing some guys, in terms of that. So, and obviously Milano, I know you hate him now.
Listen, they had Spector and Williams, who, by the way, Dorian Williams was only 4 games in as a starter, and he got better as the season went on. So
it's going to be.
And in Buffalo, it does matter that the field is going to matter. The home crowd is going to matter if they play them. Let me get to a handful of some of these comments that people have been leaving throughout the show. I'll kind of pull these up randomly here if I can find them. Some pretty good ones too. Bills versus Vikings Super Bowl 24-17. Bills win. I'll tell you what. We're going to talk about that today. Thanks for the take. Minnesota Detroit Week 18. What a wild finale. It's definitely getting moved to Sunday night next week. Winner gets the 1 seed in a bye. Loser doesn't even win their division, and they got to go on the road and play in the playoffs. So you want to talk about a big difference there. Carl said that Matt Milano show enough to prove that he is back. He looked good to me, and he appeared to be pretty quick on the ball to get that fumble. Should he sit next week and rest up, or does he need more reps? We already talked about that.
We can talk about it because he just maybe logged on. And Carl, thank you for the comment. No, he shouldn't play next week. Pat's wrong. I don't know why he wants to see more reps out of him. He's a veteran. You don't play veterans for more reps, dude. No. So thank you, Carl, for that. In case you missed it earlier, we did talk about it 4 different times.
Ariel Grande,
go ahead.
Who, by the way, Tom Puck says, I can't believe you don't recognize who the name is, who he's mocking. I completely do, but I still call it the names. I like it. He said, I also agree. Milano had his best game at about 3 plays where I was like, that's the one I know and love, needs reps, so let him play. Again, it's going to be listen, Joe, we're playing the fucking Patriots next week with nothing to play for. There ain't a lot of interesting things to talk about this week. So let me have this. All right. This is going to be one of the very, very few things that that will be worth even talking about for the Bills. I, the moment, says I'd rather Josh win the Super Bowl MVP.
Sure.
Good point. Everybody feels the same way. Hillslayer, if JB comes to Buffalo for a wild card, does he cook us? Yes, he does, because he's unstoppable right now. He will cook the Chiefs, the Bengals, but can their defense make any stops? That's basically what it comes down to.
Look, hypothetically, and you're right, they got to go through a lot of things, but man, I do not want to see them because no, please don't give us the Bengals. It would be no, I don't want to. I don't want. Please, someone kidnap Joe Burrow this week, like that fucking Celtics movie with that guy. Kidnap.
I love this comment. I love this comment. It's from I, the moment. He says, "Talking playoffs, is Ed Oliver the wild card barometer of the team?" Yes, on defense. I think he becomes the most important player on this defense come playoff time. They got to win up front. They got to win in the trenches. They got to get after the quarterback. And Ed Oliver has been complete garbage in the last 2 elimination losses. He's been literally non-existent. He's too good to be a player that has no factor in a football game. He is as important to this team as anyone whose name is not Josh Allen when it comes to the playoffs. Leanne said, do you think Sean McDermott has a shot at Coach of the Year? I'm starting to warm up to his willingness to be aggressive on 4th down. Thanks for the take. What do you think?
Coach of the Year is kind of tough because there's a guy like Kevin Stefanski's won it 2 times, and I'm like, has he even won a playoff game? I think he did once. They usually always look for the big turnaround. Mm-hmm. Campbell won last year, I believe. I could be wrong. I think he won it last year, so I don't know if he would do it again. He should be considered for one. But it's always a weird thing. Like, I think Jerron won Coach of the Year once when they were 13-3 with the Bears. So it always feels like the team that comes out of nowhere ends up winning the Coach of the Year. Agreed. So it could be Minnesota, like with their injuries, like that could be if they get the 1 seed, like that could be it. Because they came out of nowhere without Kevin O'Connell.
He's winning. Yeah, that's my pick. Well, that's your pick? Okay. You know what? It might come down to them against Detroit on Sunday night. Whoever wins that game, him or Campbell. McDermott deserves consideration. McDermott's maybe top 5, but it's definitely not going to win. Definitely not going to win. Coach of the Year.
He's done a good job though.
Alex Barber said, what was the point of bringing back Hyde and not playing him? Yeah. I'll tell you, a pretty big mystery, dude. I was like, this is the week, man.
That was your content, bro. That was your content of the half the season.
Turns out, and now it's obvious at this point, he was brought back to help develop, be a voice as a player on the sideline for DeMar and for Taylor Rapp and for Cam, the rookie Cole Bishop. He's helping guide them. He's kind of been a player coach in the room, and he's made it known that he wants to be a coach afterwards. So this was if all else fails, we're going to Micah, but we're not going to play him. If you're wondering if he's going to be active come playoff time, the answer is going to be no. Not unless a couple people get hurt. They're going to go to Kareem Jackson before him, sign whoever it may be. I thought this was to be the week to give him a look. Hell, maybe they'll let him play next week against New England. They might look. They got 2 elevations. One's definitely it should be Mike White because they should have a second quarterback. They might want another safety too, and Bishop and whatever. But Cam Lewis could also start at safety next week. So I don't know. But at this point, I got no expectations of Micah Hyde playing anymore. Jason said, Keon Coleman looking more like a Gabe replacement, rough in structure, good out of structure, but 20 million less than Gabe. Right now, yes, that's a good description. Like, again, his route running's not great. His separation hasn't been great, but he improvises. He makes tough catches. He makes big boy plays. He's a pretty good blocker, but his ceiling, I think, is way higher than what Gabe Davis's was. So not a bad comparison for now, but I think it's fair for now to say that you agree? It's kind of I think it's kind of
it's a little harsh. I mean, it's different because Gabe Davis was counted on to be a big part of the offense. Mm-hmm. Keon Coleman is not yet because of being a rookie. And you know, I'm going to call you out because you know me. You're the one that said that he was a top 20 wide receiver once. So you did have high expectations.
I did.
Your boy Gabe. And it's okay. You bat pretty well in comparison to the other content bros. But yeah, it's I think that's the difference. Like one guy was counted on more to make an impact and he failed and a lot more than people let on. Sure. And Keon's just there. He's a role guy as of right now, which we'll see what happens. Like they always have a different guy every week. He had a nice catch today. He got a great touchdown. Give that guy credit for dealing with like the 2 drops and then having that touchdown. You know, I give him credit for that. That's a hater.
I'm laughing because I got 2 more comments here and I'm laughing at this one. We spent a good time talking Buffalo, Baltimore, maybe a little premature. We should probably be waiting to having that conversation. I mean, maybe the Bills should win the wild card round before you start thinking about Baltimore. But, you know, we're analyzing analyst by paralysis, the offense, defense, this and that. Hill Slayer 12 just keeps it pretty simple. He goes, Henry would dick slap us as per usual. Last comment, though. Milano's legacy. I really like this one because this kind of got some truth to it. Kansas City defense is overrated, especially versus Josh Allen. It's not really wrong. I mean, Josh has really played great against him in the regular season. He played great against him in 2021. And last year, the Bills' offense played good enough that they should have won the game. Good enough, not great, good enough. Come on, dude, good enough. AJ Klein, come on,
okay.
they couldn't make
Hold
a
on.
stop. They didn't have the ball enough. They couldn't get off the field on defense.
Well, that was a different game plan. They ran the ball all the time, and Josh Allen had less than 200 yards passing in that game. So, in that, he did have 3 key drops. The Diggs drop that everyone has tattooed on their asses, and then the Trent Sherfield drop.
They should. It was a bad drop.
Yeah, but fine. It was like 6 minutes left.
And Sherfield, too. I'm glad you mentioned him. He had 2 drops.
That was your boy. You had him going for 80 catches last year.
He's Matt Collins this year. Matt Collins is what I thought Trent Sherfield was going to be last year.
No, yeah, or your boy, Jeff Hardy or James Hardy, whatever the hell his name was. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the Chiefs' defense is pretty good. I'll say this. Let me ask you this, okay? The wild card, and we can get ahead of ourselves. The hell with next week's game. Who do you want to play the most in the wild card? I'm
resigned to playing Denver because it seems that far and away it's the most likely.
I mean, you got a rookie quarterback. I think McDermott's had good luck. I think he's had good history with against rookies.
He's good. He's athletic too, and so are the Bills. Though the Bills linebackers, Teron Johnson, their edges, they can fly to the football. It would be Denver right now. That's who I would prefer to play. I prefer to play Miami, but Miami I don't think is getting in, especially Tua's hurt again. It would be funny though. There is a scenario. Let's just say Tua's out for multiple weeks, and I don't know, but he didn't play today, and he's got a hip injury. But since he loses to Pittsburgh and they're out, and then Denver somehow loses to the Chiefs, and then Miami beats the lowly Jets, Miami would be the 7th seed, and the Bills would play them. Would you rather play Miami or would you rather play Denver? I'd rather play Miami because I know that offense. All you got to do is not let Tyreek Hill get behind you, and they're done. And their defense,
with Tua or without Tua,
with or without, but it's obviously without.
I mean, it's without Tua. Yeah, I would rather play Miami. That if it's with Tua, I would probably say give me Denver. Again, look, I know it's very easy to laugh at Miami against the Bills, but there have been some close games against them. Like the one in Buffalo this year was a very close game. Tyler Bass kicked a fucking 6-mile field goal at the end of the game to win that. So yeah, I think I'm with you a little bit on that with give me Denver.
Miami's just too banged. They got too many injuries. But Denver, it's tough to see a rookie quarterback come to Buffalo in the divisional round and beat Sean McDermott in this defense. Not to mention Josh. And their defense is tight, though. Denver plays some pretty good defense, although Joe Burrow lit them up this weekend.
I'd like to know, and I'm not going to do a deep dive into this because you don't pay me. I'd like to know, how big of a difference is Denver's team last year outside of quarterback than they are this year? Because the Bills lost
I don't know.
Last year. And again, it was different. They had that was Dorsey got fired after that game, if I remember correctly. And that was the Sean McDermott all-out blitz that was horrible.
That's the Ravens losing to Vegas this year. That was the Bills losing to Denver last year.
I just wonder if there any sort of they're the same in certain regards. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm going back to the game today. I wasn't happy with the 2-minute drill, the timeout situation in the first half. Wasn't really happy with that.
No, it wasn't good.
It seemed it was like your typical Sean McDermott fucking up timeouts kind of thing, which was.
It's not more on Joe Brady though, man. But I don't know. Maybe not.
A little bit. If you want me to be a dick.
No, it's okay to nitpick. Okay. Before we get out of here, enough football talk real quick here. And by the way, a lot of people are in the comments and the overwhelming thing is Denver all day. Who would rather play. Makes sense. I get it. Divisional rivalry, you see him a third time. Kind of like with Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh plays Baltimore in the first round, which by the way, I mean, we'll talk about this next week. I don't want to talk no more playoffs until we know what the matchups are going to be. And then we'll be able to kind of fiddle around with some potential matchups. But anyway, real quick, I said at the beginning of the show, you went to a Sabres game with your family on Friday night, and you posted a funny pic of your kid. And the comment, I can't remember exactly what you said word for word. It was, but I looked at it and I immediately, I started laughing right away. It was.
I can tell you right now. I'll tell you. I'm looking at it. And now the real suffering begins. Kid.
And now the real suffering begins. Your kid, his first Sabres game, obviously suffering was funny. However, funny thing happened on his way to suffering. He didn't suffer at all unless he was just getting sick and tired of the noise and, being at the game and all. But a big win, a dominating win. The Sabres have won 3 in a row. I got to give them a little bit of shine here, an hour and 24 minutes.
A little bit of shine. The rest of them, give them a little shine. Yeah.
I mean, they won 3 in a row. They won on Sunday 4-2 at St. Louis. They've won 3 in a row. They've outscored the Islanders, Chicago, and St. Louis 17-5 in the last 3 games. I will say one thing, and again, I don't want to talk hockey at this point in the show, but I will say something about Rasmus Dahlin. There's a different team with him than without him, and he was out for a lot of that streak. They're 14-13-2 with him. They are 0-6-2 without him. They have literally not won one time in 8 games that he's missed this year. He's a great player, and when he's out, this team is not the same. As Mike Harrington said on Sunday night, Sabres are just 6 points out of the playoff cut line right now, and there's still 45 games left. Just saying. Not dead. Not dead.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that. Let's go back to my son. So, it's very surreal when someone like you tells me, like, I went there with my family, because it's like I'm 44, and I just had we had a kid last year, and it's like, wow, like, yeah, we're going there as a family, and it was really fun. We should have good moment. My sister got us tickets, like she got them, like she owns a business, so she has a lot of different connections, and we sat like in the 200s, which is like very nice seats. We got there. They were very nice to Sabres. Like the security guard, like guy, when we walked through security, gave my son a puck, which is very cool. And then we like sat down and they gave him stickers, and we got like the first game certificate. Then, they print your name out on there, and it was an electric atmosphere. Like, I've gone to some, I know you don't really. Yeah, I know you don't do any games because you're putts. Putts is too strong for it, but you don't like leaving your house.
It's not even that. It's like the building seems dead most.
Okay, yeah. But you don't like leaving your house unless it's for Jay Skursky and Wingfest. It's always an electric atmosphere, and I've done this game before around Christmas, because all the expats like myself come home. The first thing you do, no matter what their record is, you're coming home. You're like, I want to go to a hockey game. Like, I don't see this team enough. It was packed. It was. StubHub tickets were $100 for the cheapest for that game, which is insane with the Sabres aren't. But people want to go when they come back, especially expats, as I said. But my son watched the game. Like, he was pretty. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and go like, he was mesmerized. He was watching it, looking at us, clapping. There's some videos. Like, if you follow me on Instagram. I doubt you saw it because you're just probably stalking people that suck. But, he was clapping. He had a meltdown during the second and third goal, which was not fun. But when they scored, like, the first goal, he clapped. And, like, he's 17 months old. And, it's something like, my wife was emotional, like, seeing it. I think I was looking at my phone, which makes me a terrible dad. But, like, I was like, yeah, it was great to, like, look and see the videos. Like, my sister videotaped some of us. To see that, it's just, like, it was so surreal to be someone like myself who has gotten married. I got married at 40. I know you've been married since freaking the 60s, and you were like 16 or something. And now it's just like, oh wow, like this is my life. And to go to a game, like his first game, and they killed it. We left at the second intermission because we're not terrible parents. Like, we had to get him home to bed. But he murdered his chicken fingers. He was very happy. My son can eat anything. He's going to become William Refrigerator Perry at this point. But like, it's just, you see as a dad, like, and I'm sure you went through all of this, and we'll get out of here because I know we're at 90 minutes. But like, I'm really looking forward to watching when he gets to like 4, 5, 6 to watch sports with this kid.
It's the best, man. That's the best.
I can't wait and like to talk to him about it and watch it, and I can't wait. And that was like a tip of the iceberg of like, welcome to your first hockey game, buddy, and like enjoy the and he had a cute outfit. He had a Sabres outfit from head to toe that my sister got him, and he's starting
to understand a little bit.
Yeah,
very little because he's 17 months, but
yeah. But those moments, Pat, like, you don't care about the Sabres being dead last when you can bring your kid to a game. And you can have them, and you can have like the puck was like, there was no logo on the puck. It was a puck, but I was like, this is great. Like, look, he's got a puck. It's awesome. Like, who cares? Like, this is great. And you don't care. And you don't care.
Shit, man.
It's good shit. And I was really, excited about that. But yeah, I look forward to watching games with him more as he gets older. And you know, it was very surreal. It was a fun time for us.
Absolutely, man. And again, at this age, he's starting to come out of that now, and that's what I kind of meant. You know, it's a labor of love having a baby, but all they do is shit and eat, and you buy them all these gifts, and then they just want to eat the paper and play with the boxes, and they don't actually care about the toys.
Boxes, yeah.
That shit's, you know, obviously frustrating, but yeah, they start to get into things a little bit, and then they start to do things, and that's when becoming a parent really is the best. You know, I don't care if your son ends up playing a sport, whatever sport it may be. I don't care if he's a star. I don't care if he's just a guy on the team. None of that shit matters. Just to see them into something and, you know, enjoying it, or whether it's art or music or whatever the hell it may be. That's when being a parent becomes, you know, really awesome. Right now, at 17 months, honestly, it's just a fucking chore. It really is.
Well, you
start to see a little bit of
you see like he's talking and he's like saying words, like he can say bills and he can say other words and he eats everything. But it's been fun, and you know the sleep is up and down, but it's been great. But I really, that's my favorite thing, to do some sports stuff with him. And like, my dad didn't really go to too many games, and he was kind of working a lot, and like he liked soccer more. But it's something I definitely want to like hammer into him. Like, we're gonna watch some of this, and he is, according to my wife, and I have to, you know, I gotta do what I gotta do. You know, he's gonna be a Bills fan. I would rather him be organically like them, but she's like always a Bills fan. Well, the Sabres, she's kind of giving me carte blanche, and I'm kind of like, you know, we don't do screen time. He watched that game, but like, if there's still like if he's 4 and they haven't made the playoffs yet, I might bequest him to like other friends of ours who are like Rangers fans or Islanders fans.
I mean, you do. Listen, you grew up in Buffalo. He's growing up in New York City. So if he did grow up and say, hey, you know what? I want to root for the Rangers, or I want to root for the, God forbid, the Jets, or something like that. He at least would have a case. Funny ass comment. Hillslayer said, you're good to be born in the depths of a drought. By the time he understands, maybe they'll be good. And then I also want to give props to regular listener to the show, Ranger. 5 months from now, he's going to have a little Ranger running around. I know
congrats, man.
His girl's pregnant too. So congratulations.
Get your sleep in now, bro. They always say that, but I'm serious. Get your sleep in now. Get that in. Enjoy. Sleep in. Call in work. Sleep in, buddy.
Sending a link of this to human
services. What we say wrong? What the hell does that mean?
Who the hell knows? I don't know.
I was great parenting over here. Human services. What did I say wrong?
We're gonna get out of here for today. We will be back. Whether Joe wants to or not. We will be back next Sunday night after the Bills New England.
That might be my last finale until, because I don't know what's going to happen when I go to Cancun for the division round.
We'll figure Mexico
out. We'll have to figure that out, because I might be wasted when I come on here.
You know, next Sunday when we talk, maybe we'll shove a little wrestling down people's throats as well, because Netflix the next night, January 6th, is going to be the premiere of Raw on Netflix. That show is going to be lit. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that stuff.
You know what? We haven't talked. We didn't talk about Cobra Kai yet. We'll talk about that next week. We got to do Cobra Kai.
Let's save that. I want to.
We can't talk about that next week. We're going to talk about Raw next week. We can't talk about Cobra Kai next week.
Maybe a little.
No, we're talking about Cobra Kai next week. I'm not talking about your boy Buffalo Joe's snap count and Matt Milano's job. No. It's going to be the Bills lost. We're previewing the playoff picture, and then it's going to be wrestling, Cobra Kai, more Dad and Pat moments with me, and we're going to figure it out, making fun of the bro beat. That's what we're going to do next week. I'm calling it out. I'm sending you the fucking rundown next week, buddy, because I'm not talking about that game at all unless someone dies. All right, the Bills stop the Jets, Disgraceful Jets, we're out of here. Pat's going to review everything tomorrow when he pretends he knows what the hell he's watching on the film. It's all good, everyone. Thanks for following us. Follow me on Blue Sky. Mute Pat. Bye.